A man paints with his brain, not with his hands. Artist and sculptor Michelangelo. This is The Artful Painter, art lessons for artists, collectors, and people who love art. Paul Foropoulos is a Greek artist born on the tiny, beautiful island of Samos, Greece. Today, he and his wife divide their time between their home in Clearwater, Florida, and the country of Greece. Not only does he paint, he is also a sculptor. He designs jewelry, and he teaches art classes at his own fine art studio classroom. Paul is an avid scuba diver, and he loves to paint the extraordinary underwater views he sees while diving. His large underwater oil paintings mesmerize the viewer with a mix of bold and subtle colors, depicting the rich variety of sea life, enchantingly illuminated by sunlight as it filters through the water. Paul's subject matter, though, is not limited to underwater scenes. He exuberantly wields his brushes, knives, and oil paints to create vibrant, colorful, contemporary, urban, figurative, seascape, and landscape paintings. My wife and I met Paul Foropoulos and his lovely wife Dina when we traveled to Greece last year with another couple. Paul kindly made arrangements for us to stay on his home island of Samos. It's a quiet, enchanting island devoid of crowds of tourists. As we dined on fabulous Greek food, we learned of Paul's remarkable journey to become an artist. It's a journey that took him from his quaint island home of Samos to the big city of Athens, and then to Lebanon and far beyond. Today, I'm glad to have the privilege of sharing with you Paul Foropoulos' inspirational story of painting along life's paths. My name is Carl Olson, and this is The Artful Painter. So Paul, you and I, we met in a very unexpected way. My family was traveling with two other couples to visit Greece, where we had never been before. And what a beautiful place. But we made this connection with you on this little tiny island of Samos. What a beautiful place. And we got to meet you and your dear wife. You were so hospitable to us, showed us around, invited us to your home. And on your walls in your home are all these magnificent, colorful, beautiful paintings, large paintings, just full of life and exuberance. And I knew then that I had to talk to you on The Artful Painter. So thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you. I never thought that time that you are so much involved with the arts, and that someday we'll be talking like this in an interview. It's amazing sometimes how life creates paths and history.
Yeah, so true. Now, you grew up on the island of Samos.
I grew up in the island of Samos. Correct. I was born there, and I grew up, and I stayed until the age of 15.
And from there, where did you go?
I went to Athens, which is the capital of the country. I continued studying there, and I took more steps in education. And then after a couple of years, I moved to another country, and I continued education there. I was not the best kid when I was young, and my parents, they had to make me disappear from one place and put me to another one. And that's why my studies and my career.
I can't believe you being a bad kid. No.
Yes, I was. I was, because in the age of 15, you don't leave your high school to go to another city by yourself. My father was well established in the island, and he had only me, no other children. Then he was dreaming that I would take over everything that he had.
What was he doing, Paul?
He had different kind of business. He had farms, He had bakery. He had even shepherds with flags of animals, and they grew the animals, and he was marketing them in different cities and a lot of things. Then in some day, I started realizing that those activities are not for me. When I started telling him about it, he didn't like it. I think we have seen that in the movies too. That some children, they don't want to continue what the parents they build it. Probably because I was more artistic, more I had I needed the larger horizons in my life. I needed more education, and then I started building inside of my mind the desire to find a way to escape from this direction. Then when I saw that my uncles and my father and everybody else in the family, they didn't want me to go farther, I decided to leave the house.
How did they take that, Paul?
Well, they didn't know that I'm doing that. I just one day I disappeared. I disappeared looking for the large horizons of life. But I didn't have any money. I didn't have any support from anybody. Then what I did, I went to the other side of the island. It was a big factory where they do the wine for the island, because the island is full of grapes and their wine is very famous, very popular. Then I went to that factory and I asked for the director, the president, whatever, and they let me get in. We are talking now the age of 15, okay? They let me get in, and I said to him, okay, I left home and I want to work. Then he started talking to me why you left home and all this, and I told him clearly that I want to go to Athens. I want to study. I want to do different things. My parents, they want me to do different things. Then I do not, it doesn't fill me up. Then I took this step.
At this point, did you know that you wanted to become an artist, or is that still formulating in your mind?
I was drawing day and night, whatever I found that can do a line from a chalk to a pencil to anything and any surface. I was doing that constantly, but in the meantime, I was starving for knowledge. Then probably it was my artistic directions also that took me away, because that it's an education too, and I had no way in the island to do that. The bad thing on this story was that the president knew my father, the president of the factory. And when I find out that he knew my father, I said, oh my God, I came to the wrong place.
No.
Yep.
Did he keep your secret safe?
Yeah, then I begged him to not to say anything to anybody. And I said, I need work. Can you put me to work? And I will find a way to communicate with my father, and he will accept it. Then he comes down and he promised me that he's not going to say anything to him. Then I started working in cleaning bottles, glass bottles that they put the wine inside. They had many workers that they clean bottles in machines there. Then I was cleaning bottles, but now I start the first day working immediately. But I'm only with my clothes. I don't have money. I don't have food, and I don't have a place to sleep. Then I got out of the factory after the end of the day, and I looked downwards where the water, the sea is, because the factory is next to the sea. And I saw an old boat, very old, broken. Then I went and I looked, and there's a place of the boat that you get under it. Then I found a way that I could sleep there until I will see how.
Under
how
an
they-
old broken boat.
Yeah. That probably for 20 years nobody stepped in there. It was just the skeleton of the boat. Well, next day I communicated with some of my fellow students at the school. Now, in the meantime, I stopped going to the school because they will find out where I am. And they gave me some blankets and some things. And then I stayed on that boat for about a month and a half. I made some money and I left for Athens. But before I leave to Athens, my parents was looking now for me, and the police was looking for me, and I got disappeared, and they couldn't explain what is happening. Then one day, getting up on the road and going to the city, which is 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes walking, to buy a few things, I see the bus that goes around the island. Then the bus passes by me, and then it stops, and here's my mother coming out. She saw me from the bus, and she stopped the bus. They were looking all around the island.
She must have been relieved to see you.
Yeah, well, yes, but you have to count now my heartbeats.
Yes. Oh no, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, it's the time that you see that you have to put all your strength together and face a situation. Then I told her, I'm sorry that I'm putting you in this bad situation. It's not me. I don't want to do it. I'm doing it. I don't know why, but I want to go away. And you know that from our arguments. And she said, okay, let's go and talk to your father, and I'm sure we can do something about it. Then I left the work there. I went home. My father was a tough man, but this time he was smooth and nice. Then we discussed the matter, and 2 days later, I'm in the ship. I'm on the boat to Athens. I started
just like that. You're on the way to Athens now.
Yes, yes. And in fact, not only with the money that I made on that factory, but also he supported me to go to Athens, and he put me in a school to become a captain for cruise lines. And that was a long journey. I needed about 5 to 7 years. I started studying. I was good, but it was not for me. The only good thing on that, it was that they dress us with white clothes in the summertime and black clothes on the winter time and a hat, and you look like a captain, but it was not for me. Then what happened in the same time as I was studying to become a captain, I got involved with some artistic activities in Athens, in the city. Unfortunately, not in art, but I participated in a contest, and I won. I was the second from the 3 winners, and a theater took me to act.
So, Paul, I just want to make sure I understand what it was that you did, because you mentioned there it wasn't exactly art. So I just want to get clarified. You won second place. What was it what kind of show was this?
It was not a show. It was a contest as a talent.
A talent show. Okay.
Yeah, a talent show. And when the winners, they were taken by advertisement agencies, by theater, by movie productions, and all this. Then a theater takes me, and I started acting. I started acting for 2-3 years, and I did well, but again, it was not filling me up, because when we have rehearsals, you find me always doing the sceneries for the theater. And they used to call me and call me and call me, and I'm just doing art for the scenery of the theater. Then I started realizing that art is my activity, and everybody else started realizing that. Then one day, my father finds out that I'm acting in a theater, and here one evening after the show, as I walk out of the theater and between the crowds, I see my mother and father standing outside waiting me in the door.
What did you feel at that moment when you saw your parents there?
Well, again, on this life story, you have to have a machine to read the heartbeats in situations like this.
So it kind of went up.
Oh.
Kerthump, kerthump.
Oh. Well, after what happened in the island, and now they put me in the school to become a captain, and most of my time it's spent for the theater. You can realize that he was afraid that I didn't do what he thought I'm doing. I explained to them that I'm continuing the school and I'm doing good, but on the side, I'm doing this too. Well, they didn't like the theater and the movies, and they decided to send me to another country to study. Then you see now how I become international.
Okay, so a little island of Samos, which is a beautiful island, but like any child, we have that desire that, okay, we're going to go someplace different than our parents. Then you go to Athens, which is a happening city. Okay, where do they send you from there?
Well, they sent me to Beirut, Lebanon.
Lebanon
that time was the paradise of the Middle East. Really, it was.
Yes.
With French culture, it was a wealthy country, very educated country, very beautiful country. And it happened that my mother is from there. Then I had many relatives. Then they decide to send me where the relatives are. Then
so they're kind of doing this with your relatives, right?
Correct. That they can control my activities. Then they send me to Lebanon, and now there's no school for captains there. Then they put me in the National Center of Studies to become electronic engineering, which was a beginning of that scientific direction that time, the electronics. Then here they put me at the school. But I'm between the family now, many families, relatives to my mother. One of my uncles, knowing my story, because my parents told him, keep an eye on him, because he's jumping all the time to theaters, to movies, to art, to this, to that. Keep an eye on him that he can finish his studies.
But see, each of those studies was taking you further and further away from what you wanted to do. Okay, I want to see how your uncle fits in with this.
Oh, don't ask. One day he comes to me. He was an uncle that he loved me very much, and he in some way he was admiring me. I don't know why, but that was the impression that I was taking out of him all the time. Then one day he comes to me and he says, I want you to participate on this. And I try to understand what it is, and here's another contest, talents contest.
Another contest.
Yeah. Well, I asked if there's art involved, and he said, we don't know much. Let's go and find out. Then he takes me to some fancy buildings there. And we find out that it's an annual contest that you get into a magazine, your photograph every month, with different sections that you have to be tested. Anyway, we cannot get into these details. Unfortunately, I'm one of the 3 winners again, but I am the 3rd one. In the end of the year, in a big event, because so many people, they participated on that during the year. And just if you count the people that they participated, plus boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, children, mothers, fathers, it was 3,000 people on that event of where they selected the winners. Then it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
So you were one of 3 winners out of 3,000 people.
Right. I was one of 3 winners. Now, some opportunities, they come up. One of the opportunities, it was to do some advertisements on, not on TV. TV was black and white. To do for the movies of Cyprus, which is the island next to Lebanon, which is a Greek island. Basically now it's Greek and Turkish. Then I did some advertisements through an agency for the movies, commercial advertisements that they put before the film. Before you see a movie, they put some advertisements up. Then I got involved with that, and also I did a movie with a montage of my voice. The acting was mine, but the voice was somebody else, because my Arabic that time were not so good yet. But the montage didn't work out so well. Then the movie, it was not successful.
So there goes your movie acting career.
Yeah, but it was only one, and I knew that it's not going to be successful, because when I saw part of the montage, my acting and the words of somebody else, I knew that it's not quality-wise. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And of course, it didn't succeed. I didn't stay in the market more than 3 months.
Okay, so how old are you at this point?
19. I'm at the school for electronic engineering, and one day the school takes us to a high-rise. Lebanon was very wealthy and technologically was very much in advance. Then they take us to a high-rise down in the basements to see, to give us some training in electronic panels and different things of high technology. As we were going down to the basements, I found a stone. I found something like dry stucco, white, like gypsum. And it was a lot of things on the stairs going down. It was only The walls, they were not painted. It was only stucco and concrete. Then I saw a surface and I took that dry gypsum and I did a design on it. And then I follow the rest of the students. I'm at the basement in the end of the group. And all of a sudden we hear a noise coming down from the same stairs, a lot of noise. And somebody was screaming loud. Well, it was the chief architect of the high rise. And he didn't like the fact that somebody drew on that huge wall
No, Paul.
and made it dirty. And then he comes down. He knew that nobody went down. He knew that somebody from us did that. Then he comes down and he tells to our professor, someone of your group made some designs on the wall and we were ready to start painting and this is no good. And who did that? Well, nobody talked. Some of the students, they looked at me because I was in the end of the group. They knew I came late. And
you were
well,
busted.
I said that I did it. I'm sorry. He started screaming on me. He was a tall, very impressive man. And then he said to me, you know what? You are in the wrong place. Why you don't follow art? And
oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
You get dressed down and then he tells you you need to be in art.
Yeah. Then I said, this is what I want to do, but my parents, they put me here. He pulls out from his pocket inside, he was with a suit, very elegant, in the building with 3-4 other architects. He pulls out a card and he said, find a way to call me in my office. Then I call him with my uncle. And he asked us to go to his office. We go to his office and he said, I looked in your design and because I am artistic too, I know that you can't escape from this intention that you have and the talent. And it will be good if you start getting involved with your arts too, because you're going to do well. Well, I said, I would love to, but I don't know how. He said, okay, I'm going to call a company and you're going to go there. Maybe they will hire you in an advertisement office. And finally, it happened. I started working for that advertisement company. The advertisement company got a job from a huge factory that they had about 180 trucks, refrigerator trucks, that they distribute the products that the factory was doing.
Right.
Then it was the largest factory of orange juice, all the sodas, chocolates, candies. They had 800 plus ladies working in the factory there. Then they buy 20 new trucks, which they were white refrigerator
Nothing
trucks.
on them.
Yeah, nothing on them. And they give this job to the office that I'm working, to the advertisement company. And the advertisement company now gives me the job to do all the art on these trucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Paint the logo and put some ice creams and some bottles of their products.
Painting it directly on the trucks.
Correct.
This is before there was body wraps for cars and trucks and things like that.
Correct.
You were painting the vehicle.
Yes.
Wow.
Then I started working on that and I started feeling good because it was hard. I was painting. Of course, very mechanical art, but I was very happy on that agency there. 3 years later, the chief of the office of the artistic part gets retired, and they give me as a test to handle the office. Well, I was 3 years with them now, and I have done really good work. And now it was time that I was working on the trucks, and they give me the office to manage the office. Then they increase my income, and I was very happy, and I had a car of the company, but not a good one. Um, I'm doing well. I'm making some money, and I'm studying in the evening, afternoon, and night at the school for electronic engineering. But in the meantime, now I'm working in my art. Well, since I got now involved with brushes and paints, and I started getting knowledge, I started painting also in canvases when I had a spare time, which was not too much.
I was going to say, I don't know where you got the time to do all of it, because you running an office, going to school, and now you're trying to be determined to paint.
Those 3-4 years, I was sleeping 4.5 hours only.
Oh my word!
Yeah.
You're working full time for a company where you started off painting the trucks, got invaluable experience with that. You're still going to electronic or electrical engineering school. You're sleeping only 4 hours or so, and you're trying to paint as well. Something has to give. What did you do at that point?
Well, on that point, I was thinking to keep on the school and work part-time on the company, reducing a little bit my activities, and transfer the trucks. We are talking about 20 trucks, and to do 3 sides of the trucks, it was a lot of work, months and months by hand. Now, the time that I was thinking to reduce my activity and increase my painting, this is what happened. The president of the factory that gave the job to my company, it comes to see, he was coming from time to time to see the progress on the trucks. Then he comes one day with a gray suit and his glasses, and he stands next to me as I was working on that. And he said, I want to talk to you. We want to steal you. I said, what do you mean? Said, we want to steal you from the company that you work to work for us. And
they want to steal you. They want to take you away.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, don't think about it. We are going to double your monthly payment. Wow.
Wow, what an offer.
Wow. I got red. I couldn't talk. I tried to absorb what I was hearing. And he continued. He said, we are going to hide you. They are not going to find you. Well, as I was thinking, my ears became like fire. They were burning. I didn't know what to say, and I said, let me think, because there are a lot of things involved, and I will answer you tomorrow. Can I? He said, you answer me tomorrow after what I'm telling you? Nobody will find you. You're going to have double income, and you're going to do the same thing that you're doing. I said, well, please, I can't think right now. Let me talk tomorrow. Then I go and I talk to my uncle, and my uncle said, take it immediately. Well, now I had to deal with my conscience. The architect still's in touch with me, and he deals with me like a mentor, like I'm his son. he introduced me to the advertisement company, which they are treating me like a king. They gave me an increase and they put me in the offices as a manager of the office. And now how I can leave them in the middle, continue doing the same job, they will mess up their relationship with the factory. The factory will mess up the relationship with them. And now what is my role here?
So how did you answer them?
I answer them next day that I will need 4 or 5 days before I make a decision. I'm sorry, but I cannot do differently. Then I went to the architect and I said, this is what's happening. And I don't know what to do. Well, the architect stood up and he hugged me.
Oh.
And he said, I want to know your parents.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, don't do that because my parents, they don't know that I'm dealing with art. Then he said, you know what? He picked up the phone and he talked to the president of the company that I was working. And I hear the conversation. He explained what is happening. And the architect tells me, go and take the job.
Wow.
Go and take it.
But see, now your conscience was taken care of. He respected you for coming to him. You recognized the investment that company had made in you, and you got their blessing.
Yeah, and I said to him clearly, I don't want to upset anybody and I don't want to treat them wrong since they are treating me so good, and I cannot do that. Is any solution that I can benefit in the same time, but without treating bad you, that you helped me and also the company that I'm working. Then the architect had influence on the company that he put me to work, and this way he talked to the responsible person there, and they felt probably sorry about me, and they let me take the job. And I don't know what deal they did with the factory, the Gelati Cortina company that I was doing the trucks for them. But now I'm in a better condition. I have more money. They rent me a house of 5 bedrooms. I was alone. I'm doing good at the school. And now I'm working with more prestige and my company there.
And you still have your fingers in the arts, right?
Yes, because now I have the school, but in the company now, I work from 10 o'clock only to 2 o'clock. I had a car from the company, a more beautiful car. I had a house, and 2 o'clock, if I didn't have school and if I didn't have to paint, I could be in the beach every day at 3 o'clock, because 2 o'clock, my work was over. And I used to go now 10 o'clock in the morning, give a look, and we used to do advertisements in huge walls of high-rises and the highways, and put the products of Gelati Cortina company, the juices and orange juices, the bottles and the logo and ice creams and huge walls. Then I had about 42 people working on the buildings, and I used to pass by and see how things going. And life was beautiful, a little bit more, and I will be in heavens. Then I was doing really good. In the meantime, I started accumulating paintings. Now I had time to paint. Then I was doing paintings one after another. I did 1-2 gifts, but then I started accumulating. 2 years later, I was ready to do an exhibition. Then, until then, I had a lot of connections. I was doing good with people. Then it was arranged that I will do an exhibition in the American University in Beirut, which was one of the fanciest buildings of the country. We are talking about huge metal doors to get into the gardens, and then you walk in beautiful walkways with flowers left and right, and columns and marble all over, and really beautiful.
Sounds like a beautiful place to have an exhibition. But now I just want to put things in perspective. Now, you're still, what, 19, 20 years old about this time? And you're about to have your first exhibition.
First exhibition.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the arrangement started through some connections that I had, and we got the okay. We saw the huge fancy hall with marble columns in the entrance and beautiful lighting and a beautiful dream. And for that age, it was really a dream. Then I'm preparing the exhibition, but then in the same time, I thought about something crazy. I had a friend that he was working in the Secret Service of the country, and he was a head of the Secret Service. And he was genius. He knew people, he knew the government, he knew everybody. Then we used to go out.
Now, Paul, I was not expecting this to take a James Bond turn, this story.
Okay.
I got to hear this now. Okay, you got this spy, and he's ready to.
All right.
Secret Service, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but he was genius in the language, in the Arabic language, and French and English, and he was a personality. He knew everybody, and now I go and I said, John, I have an idea. Can you help me out? He said, what? I said, I want to invite in my exhibition in the grand opening the prime minister of the country, Abdallah Yafi, which was the prime minister that time.
Of Lebanon.
Of Lebanon. Well, he started smiling a little bit, but I said, well, you know me, I will try, and if it fails, it fails. And if it happens, it happens. Why not to try? He said, okay, what do you want from me? I said, I want to write a letter, and I don't want you to change the letter, but I want you to write it in the right language. He said, go ahead. Then I write a letter, half English, half
to the
English,
Prime Minister of Lebanon.
half Arabic. But now Hannah, John, it's going to correct it. It's going to put it together. Then I said on that letter that I'm 19, 20 years old. My mother's Lebanese. My father is Greek. I'm studying so-and-so. But I'm an artist also, and I'm doing my first exhibition in the American University. On that date will be the grand opening. Now, I like to invite you to attend the grand opening if you don't have anything better to do. because For you, it's going to be another visit from thousands that you do. For me, it's going to be the start of my life in the art
Oh,
world.
wow. Yeah.
Uh, and I said again, if you feel that I'm unreasonable and I don't know what I'm talking about, just throw the letter away and I apologize. That was it.
You had to give it a
That,
go. You had to give it a go, right?
yeah. Now John helps me to put the letter together and was amazing with the same thoughts, but with better words. And now I have the problem how it will arrive to the Prime Minister. The owner of the factory that I'm working with, the 800 plus ladies that they work in the factory, the owner is a politician. He's a senator. Then I thought I can ask him to find me the address that the Prime Minister can receive the letter. Then I asked Mr. Nahas, which came and stole me from the other company, the president, not the owner, to make me an appointment with the owner, and he wanted to know why, and I explained him why, and he started laughing.
He started laughing.
He started laughing that I want to invite the Prime Minister.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing too. I mean, this is the most audacious thing I've heard.
I'm laughing too. I'm laughing
Yeah.
too. Don't worry. Just laugh, because when I think back in my life, it's, I don't know. I remember what my mother used to say. They asked her, why you don't have more children? Why just one? And she used to say, no, one and enough. Then probably she had some time to say that. Then anyway, he laughs, but I said, I want to do it. I want to do it. Help me out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You try to help me out. If this happens, it will be more help for me. You know, I am an artist. I'm starving to become an artist. Then I want to do it. He said, okay, I'll make an appointment for you. Now he makes an appointment with the owner, and I had to go through 3 or 4 secretaries, offices one after another, to arrive to him. When I walked in, he looked at me from my shoes to my head, and he said, you're Paul. I said, yes. He said, I know about you, you're good. Few words. I said, okay, I'm doing the best, but I have a desire, and I want to ask you if you can help me out. He said, go ahead. I know that you want to talk to me, and tell me if I can help you, I'll help you. I said, I have a letter for the Prime Minister, for Abdallah Yafi, but I don't have a way to make it him to receive the letter, because I can send it to the government, and I don't know if he will ever get it. He said, right, he's not going to get it, but you want to send a letter to the Prime Minister? I said, yes. What do you want to say to him? Are you in politics? I said, no. I have an art exhibition. I don't know if Mr. Nahas told you that, and I want to invite him in the grand opening. He said, you didn't invite me. I said,
uh-oh, faux pas.
I said, well, thank you for being willing to come.
Very nice.
With all my heart. But I want to invite Abdallah Yafi. Can you help me out to find the address that you'll receive the letter? He said, can I read the letter before I do that? I said, yes. He reads the letter, and he said, okay.
Is your heartbeat going back up again?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the heartbeat it was if I would get an answer.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he said to me, in a day I will have the others for you. Okay, and he will receive it. But be prepared. You're going to receive a response from his office telling you, we thank you very much, but the Prime Minister has his pact with other obligations pre-arranged, and maybe another time.
So he's managing your expectations
Yes.
at that point. Okay.
He knew how the office functions.
Yes.
Then he said, in a week you're going to receive a response. Then I said, okay. Then we write the letter. Hannah, again, John, the letter helps me out in everything to make sure that the envelope is right and everything. I send it, a week passes by now. This is happening approximately 28 days before the exhibition. Now I send the letter, and 1 week passes by. I'm in agony, and no answer. 2 weeks they pass by, and no answer. 3 weeks they pass by, and no answer. And now I knew that he thought I'm crazy, and he threw the letter in the garbage. And he didn't even bother to answer me. Well, okay, what did I have? I didn't lose anything. I didn't have it. I didn't lose it. Then I tried to create a frame of mind that, okay, this didn't succeed. Let's forget about it and let me focus in the grand opening of my show. Then here, the night of the grand opening comes. I'm walking, I get into the entrance of the American University, late as usual, with all the lights on in the pathways and the gardens, beautiful, and people in groups, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, are walking into the exhibition. And here's I'm one of them, late. I arrive in the exhibition and the hall is packed.
So Paul, you were fashionably late to your own exhibition. Okay.
No, I'm good now. But on those
that's because you have your wife behind you now. She keeps you straight.
Yes. Well, she puts me straight all the time.
Okay.
Forget it.
So you're in the exhibition.
Nothing can happen. Nothing can happen.
Yeah.
Then here I get into the crowd now, and everybody wants to shake hands, and everybody wants me to be introduced to others, and many people that they are friends of mine and people that they help for mailing lists of the exhibition. They are there. They want to introduce me here and there. As we are enjoying the entire atmosphere of that night, somebody runs into the crowd and screams, the Prime Minister is coming, Abdullah Yaffe is coming, and the television is behind him.
Oh no. So you didn't get a response to the letter. He just shows up.
Yes. Now I'm lost. I don't know how to react. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And here he comes with a black suit with about 12 people next to him and behind him, and the television behind.
Oh no, a television camera too.
Yes, it was the first time that I got onto TV. And he comes in, and it was an amazing moment. I have a photograph in Greece, in a file, that we are shaking hands when we were introduced, and he has his mouth open and he smiles. It's a beautiful moment. and I'm lost. I'm like a resurrected dead in my first moment of resurrection. Yellow, pale, and lost.
But that would have never happened if you hadn't have thought, I'm going to write him a letter. And this is before internet. This is before,
Yes,
more rapid access, the ability to find out how to contact people. You were very persistent, and you didn't know what was going to happen. And yet, what happened? Because you put in that work, he showed up.
Well, I started recovering. I started getting talkative. I took him to a tour, and now the television tries to get any word from him, anything. He notices that, and then he turns to the television. The people are all around, and turns to the television and says, maybe he wants to know why I came. Me. Maybe I want to know why he came. Maybe he wants to know why I came.
Yeah.
Well, I came here from curiosity. When I received the letter, I wanted to see who is this guy. That he is 19, 20 years old, and he has the guts to send me a letter to invite me, that he doesn't know me, and he doesn't even know if I will receive the letter. And he said, now that I'm meeting him and his work, I have to say this. If the city, the city hires him for the garbage truck, he will become a mayor in 6 months.
Wow.
You get the point?
Yeah.
If the city hires him to work in the garbage truck, to collect garbage, in 6 months he will be a mayor. That was it.
How did that make you feel when you heard that?
Well, I had lost my voice anyway. I was trying to recover and be talkative, but I felt that my goal, it was accomplished. I wanted to start a good start in my art career, and now the bases were there successfully. Because what else you want to hear from an intelligent man, successful in his career, to say that I see in the personality of this young man that he will succeed whatever he will do in his life. It was the maximum of the encouragement that I could get from an intelligent man, from a successful man, from a leader. The maximum of joy that the step that I took, even though it was very unusual, very rare, it succeeded. And I felt already successful in my career because I knew that the public, that they would hear that on television, and the people that they were there on that exhibition, they will come again in my next one. Then the satisfaction was amazing. And it was real, because after that, I was selling paintings. I had recommendations for exhibitions. Everybody respected me, even if I was young, to a point that Lebanon, except Beirut, which is the capital, they have a big city that it's called Tripolis. Trablos in Arabic language, Tripolis in Greek language, and probably in English. The mayor of that city became my close friend, him and his family, to the point that he used to take me for 5 days for hospitality with a special apartment and limo to take me around the city and see his artwork, which were fountains and lighting of the city and all this. Then I started really good. And of course, when I came back, I had to go back after finishing. I finished electronic engineering, but in the same time, I was an artist now. I was selling paintings. Everybody knew me as an artist.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Did you actually finish the electronics degree?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Wow.
And I was basically from the first people that they study electronics on that time.
Well,
in
Paul,
Greece at least.
Yeah. Paul, I don't typically spend a lot of time talking about a person's biography and how they got into art, but I know when I met you, I just had to share this story. I mean, you've got hard work, determination, opposition at first of parents and family, running away from home, sleeping under a boat, going to Lebanon, and I having the Secret Service involved and writing this letter to the Prime Minister. It says a lot about you as a young man. You were very determined. You were a hard worker. And
this is true.
Yeah.
And probably that's why I did well in my art. And that's why probably I have good results with my teaching and my students, because I don't teach only art. I teach them to focus in their goals, and nothing is impossible as far as they try. I had a wealthy man that he was a friend of mine. He said something once to me. Well, after I asked him how you're doing, he said, well, I filled up 7 ships of rice from that country and I sold it to that country. And I said, you are doing big things in life. How do you succeed on that? And he said to me, it takes the same time and the same effort to go to an antique store and buy an old chair and restore it and put it on sale again to get $100. It takes the same effort to sell 7 ships of rice to Nigeria. Then I started thinking why to spend my effort in small things and not spend my effort for the final results. Of course, taking the ABC steps, but the goal is supposed to be what you want to do. Find a way and do it. And there's always a way, as far as we use this box here.
So, Paul, let's talk about your art. You had a great start. That was a wonderful story about your beginning. But many decades later, you are still producing art. You're making a living at art. Very successful. You have many collectors that collect your art. I know in one of your bios it mentioned that one collector had over 25 of your paintings. So a very enthusiastic collector. And that's wonderful to have that. When you and your wife invited us to your home last year, just looking at your art was just absolutely magnificent. It was just brilliant colors. And I noticed, too, that you were a person who does many different subject matters. You're not pigeonholed into one thing. So it's not just landscapes. There's urban scenes. There's the figurative paintings, abstract paintings. But there was one that really caught my eye because I've not seen this before, not in person anyway. And that is your underwater landscapes, your underwater paintings. So I want to talk about your art, and I want to get a little inside story about how you became a painter of things underwater.
When I started doing underwater, it was in the middle of my career, basically, because I didn't start with underwater. But as an artist, as I was living as an artist, I started having different habits, and I started diving, and I noticed that the underwater world is as interesting as the upper water world. And in fact, in color-wise, in certain areas of the earth, they are more interesting than the surface of the earth. And the life that is there, the shapes and the mechanisms and the colors are amazing. Then by enjoying that and accumulating images, I started painting. And when I started that, for some reason, I didn't know if this will be a popular subject. Then basically, I did it for me. I just wanted to see some images of my experience getting into the canvas. But when I did the first paintings of underwater, my collectors that they were my collectors up to that point, they were thrilled. And I sold the first pieces immediately. And because the diving was a continuation, and the desire of doing underwater paintings was a continuation in my heart, and the movement of the paintings to my collectors and to the art buyers became really heavy. Then I spent many years in doing underwater paintings. In fact, it became popular, that work, to the point that I was taken in by Wyland galleries, which are known as underwater galleries, that they sell underwater paintings, with the chief, of course, of the galleries, Wyland, which is an underwater painting.
They're popular in Florida, yeah.
Correct. Well, in Hawaii and many places. They have, I don't know how many they have now, but I was in a Disney Boardwalk gallery, huge gallery, beautiful. I was in Celebration Disney, Naples, a number of galleries of Wyland. And because they supposed to have another artist that time of underwater paintings, because he couldn't fill up all the galleries that they were in his chain with originals, then this work became very collectible, very popular. And I think it's a pleasant subject also, and many people, they relate to it.
Is it something that I'm trying to think about the process, because I've talked to a lot of artists on this show. Outdoor painting is a very big part of it, but that's not necessarily a practical thing that you can do underwater. You know, it's not like you can take an easel underwater. Maybe somebody's tried it, I don't know. But I just don't see that as being a practical thing. So how do you capture those images that you see underwater? You're a scuba diver, and but how do you bring that back to the studio and create what you do?
I have developed by the years the ability of registering what I see in my mind. I think many artists, they have develop that ability, then I can see something in Venice, Italy, and I can come back to my New York studio and do a painting of it. I don't know if that's an exceptional ability of an artist or every artist can develop that. But as you can see, my paintings is not a portrait of a particular scenery of the deep. It's accumulation of the idea and the existence of the color composition, of the forms of the underwater sceneries, of the life of underwater sceneries. Then there's part of memory from the diving time, part of the imagination of the artist, and of course, the personality of the artist with his stroke. Then it's not so difficult for someone to get an experience of a certain area. For example, you can go to a farm and see the watermelons on the field, how they look next to the green, and you can go to the studio and you can imagine now, okay, some green, and here are some round things with stripes of dark green and light green, and here you have a painting with watermelon.
So the power of observation, I think, is something I've seen in a lot of artists. I mean, even though they're out, if they're landscape painters and they're doing plein air, or they're sketching, or even taking photos. Of course, photos is not a substitute for observation. So you have to soak in the environment and see. That's why I like to travel. That's one of the reasons I like to travel is you really soak in. And I like to stay in a place for a little while and you soak in what it feels like, what it smells like, what the food tastes like, what are the people like, and all of that contributes to making the picture.
Plus, what is a mature artist? What do we have to develop to be a good artist, basically? Well, the first thing, we have to train our eye to look in the proper way in an object. And as we look, we have to connect with our brain at the same time. Then this is a simple ability that everybody can use it properly. A connection of looking and with your mind in what you're looking. That's simple. Sometimes we don't do it, but if we force ourselves to do it, here we look in a shape, in a color. We understand what it is because now our mind works with the eye, and we absorb the shape of that in the storage of our brain. Now, if we train our eye to look right, and we train our brain to work with our eyes in the same time, in a simple word, get focused in what you're doing. Get focused means put your mind in what you're doing. Simple. So everybody can do that.
So looking with intent, observing the details, and not allowing your mind to interrupt that with symbols and things like that. Yeah.
Correct. But in the meantime, it stores information. Now, when the brain stores information because the eye looked carefully, now the brain has the right information. And now the hand listens to the brain blindly. If the brain says to the hand, take the food, put it in your ear, it's going to go to your ear. If it says, take the food, no ear, put it in your mouth, then it goes to your mouth. Blindly listens to your brain. The brain needs information. The eye gives the correct information because you focus with brain and eyes in what you see. And this is how you accumulate images in your mind. And then you can go to the studio and do them approximately 20% alike, 40% alike, 80% alike.
So there's but there still is a bit of a disconnect, because I can have the image in my mind, and when I tell my hand to move, it's kind of clumsy at first. So how do I get the hand to be obedient to the image that's in my mind?
It's training. It's training. Basically, Carl, art is more mental than talent.
True.
And let's analyze that a little bit. If you don't have the ability to think, doesn't matter what you see and doesn't matter how many hands you have, you cannot do a painting. The mind is the key factor of a successful artist, any successful person. But since we talk about art is an understanding. It's an understanding of how the colors work together, what combinations they go or they don't go together, they fight each other, how the stroke's supposed to be, how do you combine two colors in the same stroke, how do you blend this color with the other one, how you create the shape, how do you give forms. Now, all this is mental. If we don't understand it, we cannot do it. And let me give an example that I give to my students also. When we paint, we do different objects. If we think carefully, everything we see in front of us, or it's a surface of a different direction, small or large, or it's a round. Then basically everything except the air, it's a surface or it's a round. Now, if we use our brain to understand how the round can be accomplished, then every round in every painting, in every age that we are, we can be successful on it. We can do it round. But we have to understand how can be developed that round. And
so when you're talking about the round, you're talking about the form of the object.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
A ball, a tube.
Sure.
That it's round, a trunk of a tree, a branch of a tree, a finger, a neck, a face, an arm. These are all rounds. Then basically everything we do, it's a round or surface of different directions, if we analyze it.
Right.
Except the air, okay? Now, if we understand how we can make a round and what principles are behind it, then any round in any painting can be done successfully. And let's see how the brain works on this. This is a round, okay?
Okay.
Then what is the closest part from that round to our eye? The closest part to your eye is basically my nails, because that's the closest surface of the round to your eye, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And let me explain, so those that are just listening and they're not seeing the video. So Paul is holding up his hands, and we see they're in a curved shape, fingernail to fingernail. So that's the part that's the closest to you as an observer. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Then now from the fingers, since our two hands creates a round, the distance is going away and away and away and away because it's round, correct?
It's receding into the background.
Correct. Then as you go farther, the distance is more, the visibility is less. If we are closer, then the distance is less to our eye and the visibility is more. If we have something close to us, we see it more clear with more detail. If we have something that is going away from us, we see less and less and less and less. Then, if visibility is equal light and the distance is equal dark because we don't see clear, now we understand that if we want to create a round surface, like a tube, like this one here, then we know that this part here is the closest to my eye, which means I see it more with more details because it's close to me, equal more visibility, equal more light. Now, as the surface is going away, 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 now the visibility, it becomes less, equal, less light.
So it's going
Then
into
now-
shadow. It's going into
Correct.
shadow. Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if we put two straight lines parallel, two vertical lines in a parallel way, two verticals, and now we start with dark shading on the right and dark shading from the left, and we come to the front with less and less that dark and becomes lighter and lighter, what do we have? We have dark sides, shiny center, and if we look on that thing, it looks three-dimensional round. We want to grab it and pull it out. Then what is all this? It's all mental understanding. Then most of the art is mental. Some people, they say, no, it's talent. Well, let's see what talent is. Usually I put it different to people. If you have brains, you're talented.
Ah,
If you learn how to think, you're talented.
yeah.
This is how you measure talent. Let's talk a little bit about talent. What is a talent? Talent is a tool. Every one of us has a toolbox. Everyone. We have a toolbox. Now it's a matter now what tools we have inside there and how many. Another person has a tool of a good voice, but they never learn orthophonia. What is the word? They never took voice lessons, and they never sat down to learn a song. Now, they have the tool, the talent, but they didn't cultivate it. Then they have it or they don't have it, it doesn't do anything. You can have a good voice, but you have to take voice lessons, you have to learn songs.
That's an interesting
Now-
take. I haven't thought of it that way. So the talent is actually the tools that you're already endowed with. So we have a
Correct.
brain, we have a voice box, we have ears, fingers,
Correct.
hands. Yeah. Okay.
Now, since we all have a toolbox and someone has a tool of voice, Another one has a tool of being artistic in sketching and drawing. Another one is good in cooking. Another one has the ability, the special ability of learning languages very easy. Now, this is a talent, different talent. Each one of us, we have different talents, which means in our toolbox, we have different tools. Some, they have this kind of tool, some that kind of tool. Then now here it comes a person that they feel that they are talented in art. Well, basically they have one tool, maybe two in their box.
What are
Not
they?
the voice ability, but the ability of sketching, seeing something and being able to sketch. That's not enough to make an artist. You need brains. And the brains, they are the ones that if you train them correctly to think right, they will take that tool, that ability of sketching, and with logic, they can cultivate it. But where do we find the logic? Since we don't have material of the knowledge that has to do with art. Well, here the instructor comes in the middle here. The instructor provides the knowledge and also opens up your box and looks what kind of tools you have in there. And sometimes you have more than you thought. Then takes those tools and teaches you how to think to use them. Example, let's say that I open somebody's box, toolbox, and I find a knife. And that knife, it's really sharp. Now, that's a tool, like your talent of sketching. But now, if your brain doesn't work with that knife, you can use the knife in a wrong way. Can you use the knife to shave? No. But you can use it to cut a watermelon. Then now, this is knowledge. This is thinking. I pick up the knife, and now I try to shave. Well, I'm not thinking. I'm not using logic. But if I start thinking, I will say, okay, this knife is good now. We have to cut the watermelon. Let's do it. And now you are successful with that tool that you have. Well, talent is the same thing. Somebody has to show you first, to show you what every tool does of that box that you have. And now how to use it successfully for the purpose that it's made for. And now that's why the instruction of everything, you cannot become a lawyer or a doctor if you don't get instructed and study, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You can become a super lawyer because you have good, you are smart. But if you don't study the system, the law, you cannot be a successful lawyer. Then if you don't use your mind to cultivate and to work together with your talent, you are not going to succeed by having just a tool. You have to know how many tools you have, what is the purpose of every one, and how you can use them. If anybody is listening to us and they know about cars, I can give another example. Here someone comes to me and tells me, Paul, here's the box of tools and here's an alternator. My alternator is not working, go and change it. Or I have seen sometime in the past somebody changing the alternator. I said hi, he said hi. I saw, what are you doing? I'm changing the alternator, but you didn't get into it. Then now here, you have the tools, you have the alternator, and here they show you the car. Well, go and change the alternator. If they don't show you what tools they are, the right tools for this, for that screw. Some screws are underneath, you have to go under. What is the alternator, first of all? Let me see it in the car. Then somebody has to show you the tools that are necessary and how to use them. Now you have results. And that's why art, for artists that they develop themselves, they have to learn to look carefully with all their mind in what they are looking. Now they collect the right information in their brain. Now they know what they saw and they try to copy it and do it. Some artists, they say, we don't want to use the word copy. Well, let me tell you the news. Everything we do, we copy. Even from our brain, we copy. If we accumulate images, if you close your eye right now and you try to visualize an empty plate in front of your table, you're sitting on the table and you visualize an empty plate. Can you visualize it? Of course. You have seen it so many times. Then we have the ability to accumulate images. But we have to look carefully and accumulate all the information that that object it gives you. It stores in your brain. Now, the brain has to use this, but now somebody with knowledge has to tell your brain that you need this information and this information and this more than the image, then you can transfer it to a canvas. And this is where the education comes. And the education gets accumulated or by a good instructor or by experiencing by yourself for years and years and years and getting frustrated again and again and again until you get out of trouble in something, but you have spent it a year until you figure it out. Then in either way, we need to have information of how to use our talent and how many angles of that talent do we have. And only a teacher, an instructor, a professor can read that on you and take it out and show you how to use it.
What's your take on art books?
Books are good. It needs a good judgment. For the effort that it's needed to develop a good judgment and to exercise a good judgment and the comparisons that you have to make and the conclusions that you have to accumulate, the effort is more, it's 10 times more than having instruction. The books can confuse you because every book is written by a different author with a different mentality, different system, and different pathways of reaching your goal. Let me give an example. I live in Florida. Where my studio is, if I want to go to Tampa, there are 3 ways. All 3, they will take me to Tampa. One will take me sooner and the other one later. One with more lights and the other one with less. one with more accidents, the other one with less. Now, let's say that I want to go to Tampa and somebody sits next to me and says, okay, drive. We are going to go through Route 60. Now we start driving there and we are in the middle of our way. And now somebody else in the car, it says, we are not supposed to come from here because look at the traffic. Let's go back and go the other way through Hillsborough Avenue. Now, it takes you back through Hillsborough Avenue to take you to Tampa, and now we find too many lights and too much traffic again. And now the third one, it tells you, well, we suppose from the beginning to go through a gun highway. Now, what's happening here? Three different opinions. All of them, they can take you to Tampa. But now we are losing time, we are getting confused, and we didn't arrive yet.
A 30-minute journey turned into an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah.
Correct.
You see beside me here, so there's part of my library, and I can attest to the truth of what you're saying, that each book has a different approach. There are some similarities, but there are also some very different ideas, and some are very opinionated ideas.
What happens, the books can confuse you a lot. They can teach you certain things, and you can say, oh, yeah, let me try that, and it comes out successfully. But most of the things, they have missing links, because most of the authors, or they don't know certain things, as we all do not know.
One thing I've learned through life, especially because I've worked in computers and software development, human interfaces, how humans interact with their tools, I've learned that people forget what they didn't know in the beginning. And so those steps are missing because they became assumptions. It's kind of like you go to Heathrow Airport. I remember my wife and I going to Heathrow Airport, and we asked several times for directions, and each person was helpful. Oh yeah, just go down here and then go there and you'll be there. But they left out 2 other steps.
Right.
Each time. And it's because they worked there so long that they had forgotten what they didn't know. And I think that happens in some of these books, or even workshops. And this is not a slight for any artist that's teaching workshops or writing books, but I do think it's human nature that we forget what we didn't know.
That's true. And also sometimes the authors, they feel that, oh, this is known.
Exactly.
And they don't mention it.
It's an assumption.
Yeah, they are so familiar with that themselves that they think that the person that will read, it's familiar also, and it's not. Then it creates a lot of missing links. Now, 25%, 30% of the books are gold pieces, are jewels. But now, in a market of so many books, how do you know which ones they are? Then if you get into reading book one after another and trying to do what they say, you can lose half of your life until you find the first book that it's really good, honest, successful, and complete. Then the books, when you have the ability to choose a book that it's really good and it's really helpful, it's not going to confuse you, it's good. If it's not that the case, which is not easy to accomplish that, it needs a lot of time and a lot of books to read. Usually, many books, one after another, they confuse you. And I have seen that millions of times in 32 years that I teach art, because many of the artists that they come to me, they have read books before, And we discussed the matters, and I read this, but I tried, and I couldn't do this. And then we come to a conclusion, okay, there are missing links here. Whoever wants to deal with books, or they will invest the time to do that and put in practice what they read, and they will see if the results are complete, not good, because it can be good to learn how to do the leaves in a tree, but if you don't learn on that article of trees how to do the trunk and the branches and how to make them look round instead of flat surfaces as the leaves are, and how the light is behind or in the front, then okay, you succeeded in the leaves, but you cannot complete the tree. The other way is somebody to choose an artist that they can see maturity in their work, that they know that they can transfer knowledge, that they know how to teach and they have the desire to do that, and get instructions in everything that they count as missing links of your knowledge.
That one-on-one, yes.
One-on-one, if you trust the instructor, not any instructor. First, you have to see their work. You see their work, and you look, and you get a feeling from their recognition, from their the movement of their work, that they are accepted in the art world. Now, you see also that you like this work. Now, you meet the instructor or the artist that it's an instructor, and he knows and he wants to tell you how he did this. Now, you like the work, you know that the work is popular, you meet the artist and you know that he wants to give you the information, and also he has a way to transfer knowledge that you understand it. That's the best way to finish fast and do something right and arrive in Tampa using one way and facing what you are going to face in your way. Because always in your path of learning art, you're going to find difficulties. You're going to find difficult parts of the painting. You're going to mess up some corners, some spots of the painting. But you have to be determined to learn how to fix it. And you learn how to fix it, and you fix it. And now the painting, it's perfect. And many times, if somebody chooses an instructor, I will suggest the instructor to be a successful artist, because they know how to take you wherever you want to go, because they know the path. They are there. And second, to demonstrate from time to time how this that you like, and he has explained you how to do it, how he does it also. That completes the education, the understanding, completes all the mental information that you need to produce.
You're unique among many artists in the fact that you have your own classroom. You have a location where you have a classroom where you teach. Most artists that I know teach workshops where they travel from location to location. I think you used to do that, or you do that to some extent.
I do that only when I'm invited by an art association that they have 15, 20, 30 artists and they want a workshop for 5 days or
Right.
something, then I do it.
But you have a
But
classroom.
I have a classroom. I teach classes. I teach private lessons. I teach semi-private lessons, 2 people together.
Okay.
And also I teach Zoom
You do Zoom
in
sessions as well.
other countries and other states,
Wow.
other cities.
What are some of the challenges that you face with that? I know we live in difficult times right now with the pandemic going on. So here you had a classroom situation. What do you do? How are you adapting to the pandemic?
Well, I increase my teaching time for the same amount of tuition. Then I have half of the students in the class from what I had before, securing 7-8 feet distances. They have to wear a mask. I know that they don't like it. I don't like it. Nobody likes it.
None of us like it, but we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, nobody likes to have an operation too.
Exactly.
But if they don't have it, they can't walk anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is this. We follow orders. We disinfect everything, tables, doors, chairs, office, before the class and after. These are challenges, extra work. But we want, when we leave the class and we go home, and when they leave the class and they go home, at least to make sure that they didn't get it there.
Yes.
Everything is prepared well, and we wear masks, and we are doing really well with that. I remind them all the time that the mask, it's not supposed to be only in the mouth, but also in the nose.
Important detail, right?
and they respond perfectly. I suggest them not to get very tight masks, because then the nose starts turning down. We want them with straight noses.
Well, hopefully if somebody's watching this or listening to this 6 months, a year from now, this is all in the past, I hope.
Right. But we're going to have a memory of that.
Yeah. Well, it'll affect
Plus,
our lives.
let's face it. This is the path of life.
Yeah.
Remember the example before? Traffic? Wait until you get through it. Yeah. Face the difficulty in a proper way and keep going. There are always ways to do it, easy or difficult. And how many easy things we have in life anyway?
So true.
Very few. Most of them are difficult. Imagine a captain in a boat, in a ship, now facing a rough sea all of a sudden, and the waves are so big there. What he will do? He will jump on the sea and kill himself, or he will go to the cabin to sleep. He has to face it until it's over, and he continues. And now it makes him feel good, because in the tough times, he did well. Then we are facing challenges this time of the history, with joy and with all our how they call it in English, desire to go through. We'll do what we're supposed to do, and we'll go through it.
And it'll become the stuff of stories, like painting dozens of boxed trucks, meeting the prime minister, writing a letter to the prime minister. All of those things become great stories that are fond memories. Now, I do have one other question, though.
Yes.
You've been marketing and selling your work successfully for many years, and I'm sure you've seen a difference. I think last year you even attended probably the last Basel show that anyone could go to before the pandemic started, and that was a key aspect of marketing for you. So how have things changed?
Week.
Yeah.
Art Miami Week.
Oh, Art Miami. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, the market is changing constantly the last years, not only by the circumstances, but also as a root of the arts. Today, a new artist can succeed as much as an artist with a long history. A young artist, a new artist can succeed as much as a famous artist, which makes this period a wonderful period for artists. Because the galleries today, the modern museums, the galleries, the agents, the dealers, they are looking for something unique and that fits to their clientele. If your work, if they feel that they can sell your work, doesn't matter if you are 18 years old or 24, it doesn't matter if you are full of tattoos and long hair or short hair and without tattoo, doesn't matter if you are thin or heavy or tall, or it doesn't matter.
There's hope for me, is what you're saying.
It's all mathematics today.
Yeah.
You show your work to more eyes, something will come up. And it's a privileged period with social media that they give us the opportunity to present our work visually, that people they can see it without costing too much. As before, we had only the source of a gallery that they received 3,000 applications in 6 months, and they had to choose only 5-8 artists. Today, we can open up our works to all the world and be able to get recognized, be able to sell our work, and of course, more competition. But it makes us better artists, because when you have competition, you try to become better and better and better.
I think it's not even just competition. It's the fact that what we produce is one of a kind. There's only a finite amount of art that we can produce. And yet you have a world population of over 7 billion people. There's a vast audience of people who want those one-of-a-kind pieces of art. So I think there's a vast opportunity for people to sell. Somebody's going to like what you do,
True.
right? Yeah, they're going to like it, and they're going to want it, and it'll make them happy.
Even if you don't like it, somebody is going to like it.
Oh, I'm telling you, I did that. I did an art fair a couple of years ago, and I put out this. I left the painting at home, and my wife insisted that I take it. I said, honey, that's the ugliest painting I've ever done. I don't want to sell it. But she insisted that I bring that painting to the art fair, and of course, it sold.
Mm-hmm.
She's like,
Yes.
What?
Yes. Yes.
I won't say which one, because I don't want the collector to be disappointed if they hear this show.
Yes.
But I didn't like the work. I didn't like it.
The market today is turning completely in a different direction. What it stands out are the big international art fairs.
Well, those art fairs, though, are those individual collectors, or are they interior decorators? Or, I mean, who's the primary audience at those art fairs?
Okay, well, this is where the problem is a little bit, and that's why I encourage the artists to take advantage of the good period of the social media.
Right.
Because to get into Art Basel and to Art Miami, you need many thousands of dollars to get a booth of 10 by 10. Then basically the strong galleries, they can afford that because they need 4, 5, 6 booths, 2, 3, 4. But 4 booths, it's close to $200,000. And sometimes it's more than that. Art Miami It's a little bit more economical because they have their own facilities. Art Basel has to rent, for example, the convention center, and they have to bring artists from Europe. And in my knowledge, it's a little bit more expensive, I think, than Art Miami.
Yeah, but those shows are hurting right now because of the pandemic. Maybe after the pandemic, they will pick up,
true.
or they may be changed. The very nature of those shows may change even after the pandemic is over.
That's true, but they are strong. They are strong. They can handle 1 and 2 years and 3 years bad times. They
Sure.
are strong in the arts. Then if an artist is successful enough to be picked up by a gallery that goes constantly to these international art fairs, it's one of the high goals that somebody can set. The other one is local exhibitions, but the main thing now for artists that they cannot participate in international fairs, I think, is social media. It's a good time for that.
Yes.
Because as you see, as the time goes on now, we have to pay even there to be able to be advertised in the proper way and show our work. But we're still in a good time for the social media.
Well,
and I encourage the artists to show their work.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I do want to give a plug to your dear wife, Dina. She's the engine behind your social media presence, and also running your school. So I want to give her credit for where credit's due. And my wife and I have really gotten to enjoy getting to know you and Dina. It's just
definitely her management is what it keeps everything going. She's very expert. She's very hard worker, and she's a good wife. She's a good friend. She's good with people. She has a lot of love. Then even our students are members of our family, and the management that she does, it keeps everybody happy.
And she even models for your classes too, right?
Yeah, when we have modeling classes, she does really good on that too. Yeah, she's multi-talented. I don't get involved too much with my marketing. I focus in teaching and painting, and she does everything else.
What's Dina's phone number, right?
Yeah. Well, the studio, we have the studio phone number, and we have many phone numbers. We have overseas too, because I keep a studio also in Athens, Greece, and in the island where we met, as you know, in Samos. But 9 months a year we are in the States, and 3 months overseas, except the pandemic. This year we didn't go.
Right.
Also, under my name, if they Google Paul Foropoulos or Foropoulos Studios or Artist Training Center, maybe Foropoulos Studios mostly, they will find us.
We'll provide a link so that people can find you easily there.
Okay.
Paul, it's been, there's so much we could talk about. And I know even on the island when we met you last year, we just had many wonderful conversations and a lot of good food. Oh my goodness. The Greeks
but
know
you
how
never
to cook.
You never told me that you interview artists.
What can I say? I was enthralled with hearing your conversation. Yeah.
you know that I was surprised to learn that recently.
Yeah. No, yeah.
But I learned something that I was very impressed. Your work is amazing.
Oh my goodness.
And I really mean it, and not because we are talking on the media here. In fact, I told Dina that I like to have one of your paintings because I collect also. And I was amazed of how you handle how a scenery of a value of 40 you brought it up to 90 by the amazing way that you handled the color and the stroke. It was the painting that had a lot of orange and red. I have to review your paintings again.
Is that the one right behind me there?
I hope you didn't sell it yet.
No,
well,
it's still there.
I don't hope. I want. I want you to sell it. Yeah, I think this is the one.
Yeah. So that's on the south side of Samos, that little town. I don't remember the name of the town. I can't even pronounce it. But yeah.
Then I like to thank you, seeing how great artists you are, and I know that you used a lot your mind and your eye together, because you have accomplished a lot in maturity in your paintings. I'm amazed that you spend time and effort to promote other artists, to give them an opportunity to express themselves, and you help them get into the public eye. Usually artists, they feel that if they promote others, they lose their power, which is not true. And you have the right mentality on that. Do I have a minute to tell you why you have the right mentality? Do we have a minute?
Sure.
Okay, I will make it short. In Baltimore, there's an area that it's called Little Italy. And there are 40 restaurants in the same 2-3 blocks. And every time you go there, you see packed of cars. You cannot even find a space to get in. In the meantime, a man opened up a restaurant outside of Little Italy, and another man that had a restaurant about 7 blocks away, he threw under the door of the new restaurant a small paper that it was half burned, to give him the message that if you open, I'm going to burn you down.
Oh, no.
Well, the man opened the restaurant, and in 2 weeks, the building was burned down to the ground. Now, a restaurant owner, he didn't want another restaurant owner in the same neighborhood, burned him down. But if you look how many cars they go to his restaurant, you go to Little Italy, where the garden of the restaurants is, you will be amazed. Everything is packed because the mentality of people, let's go to Little Italy. If we don't like this, we'll like that.
Right.
Then artist is a garden with different flowers. Some of them, they have needles. They hurt, but they smell good. They look good. Then we have to support a garden instead of a single flower wherever it is by itself. And you're doing that, and I like to congratulate you for that.
I deeply appreciate that, Paul. I have a deep love for the arts, and I love to see people succeed at what they do. And whatever little thing that I can do, it brings me great delight to be able to share their stories. And what a wonderful story you shared with us today. I think many people will be inspired by what they heard, and they'll be spurred on to continue to express themselves with paint.
Yeah, and they cannot escape. Talents cannot escape. They have to do it. It's one way. Let them do it.
Thank you for being on The Artful Painter today.
Well, thank you for being in your arrangement here. I enjoy talking to you, and maybe someday we'll meet again.
I hope so.
Keep doing the beautiful work that you are doing, and we are all thankful. I'm sure that we are all thankful to you.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul. And maybe we can share another dinner on the island of Samos. Yeah,
Let's this pandemic go away
let's do it.
and we'll have nice opportunities. We'd love to see you there again.
I think you'll agree that Paul's journey to become an artist is quite remarkable. I found it to be very inspiring, and I hope you did too. When this pandemic subsides, that's one of the places I want to go back is the island of Samos. It is a place where there's not very many tourists, and yet it's so beautiful. I want to go back and paint. Perhaps you do too. I want to share some feedback. The feedback's been fantastic this last week. Well, it's always fantastic, but there's just a few emails I wanted to share here. The first one is from Vienna. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's either Viana or Vienna Sesbo, and I'm probably mispronouncing that too. Yeah, you know what? Here's a tip. Anytime you have a name that's any harder than John Smith, give me a guide to pronouncing your name, okay? Because I'm going to mess it up. I don't know how to pronounce all these names, and I don't want to disrespect you in any way whatsoever, okay? But anyway, I'm going to use Vienna. I'm probably wrong, but hopefully this will get it, okay? So she writes, love your podcast and want to share it. That's the subject line. She says, hello, Carl. I wanted to let you know how much I enjoy your podcast. It feels like a conversation between friends and is full of good questions and insightful musings. I listen to it when I paint in the studio, and it helps get my mind into painting mode. One of the things I miss most since the pandemic is being able to gather with my artist friends for support, laughter, and inspiration. Your podcast has helped take the edge off of that, and for that alone, I thank you. I like that you have an array of artists who work in different subject matter and mediums. I would like to share your podcast in my newsletter, blog, and Patreon site. I usually send out a wish list of art supplies to my subscribers, but this year I thought I would add more podcasts and YouTube channels since we are spending so much time at home. I appreciate all you do. Thank you, and keep the conversations coming. Vienna, I deeply appreciate your desire and willingness to share this podcast with your audience. I very much appreciate that. And I'd like to share your website with my audience. You can find it at viennasasbo.com. The link is in the show notes, so don't go based on my phonetic mispronunciation there. That's viennasazabo.com. But anyway, link is in the show notes. She has beautiful artwork there, and she also does classes, so be sure to check that out. And she also has a YouTube channel, so that'll all be in the show notes, okay? The next email comes from Joe Wesley. She writes, hi, Carl, just finished listening to the Dan McCall podcast while I was struggling with a painting. As Dan was talking, it was almost like he was in my studio, encouraging me to push through. I did, and managed to resurrect the painting. It was exactly the right podcast for me today. I always enjoy your interviews and got onto them during 2 12-hour road trips last summer. Thanks. Joe, thank you so much for that. That episode with Dan McCall has proved to be one of the most popular episodes I've published out there. People have really enjoyed it, and it is. I enjoyed it too, and I'm glad you found value in that particular episode, that it helped you get through a particular painting problem. So nice feedback. Thanks. This feedback comes from Graham. He says, Carl, I've been meaning to send you a note about how much I enjoy and benefit from the Artful Painter podcast. I listen to the interviews on my daily exercise walk around my town here in Oregon. Sometimes when I don't feel like exercising, it's the chance to listen to another Artful Painter interview that gets me out the door. I think I may have listened to every single interview and several of them multiple times. Each of these offer clear and specific little gems that I can experiment with on my own painting journey. So thank you for bringing such useful and engaging artist interviews into our lives with your endearing humility and golden radio voice, both gifts in and of themselves. Great job, Artful Painter. Onward. Thank you, Graham. That was very kind of you to write that. I will say there's something he did which I really appreciate. Many of you will send in recommendations for an artist to interview, and I do take those seriously, though it may seem like a lot of times I don't follow through. There is follow through on the back end, but a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but there are times when an artist, for whatever reasons, perhaps they're very busy, they could be shy, it may just be something they're not interested in doing. I can reach out to them, but sometimes they don't respond or they decline. And so that happened in this case. He made a recommendation and the artist declined. They just didn't want to do it. They weren't mean about it. It's just they didn't want to do it. And I get it. I'm imposing on their time when I do these interviews. So I bring this up just to say, when you make a recommendation, there's no guarantee that I'll ever be able to get them on. Not everybody is willing to be on the show or able to be on the show. Let me put it that way. Okay, the next feedback comes from Beth. She says, "Hi, Carl. I continue to appreciate your podcast, listening as often as I can. Tremendous work you are doing. Thank you. I wanted to ask about the instrumental music you play in between segments. It is so beautiful, and I wonder about the source. Is it available to purchase? Thank you again." Beth, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And that's a good question. It's come up before with some of my listeners. They've emailed me asking me about where is the music from. I get most of it from Epidemic Sound. I have a monthly subscription that allows me to license and legally use the music on my YouTube videos and my podcast. So before we close out, I want to acknowledge my associate producers. These are people who have kindly made a financial donation to the Artful Painter. Now, this week I have 3 new associate producers. These are, again, I'm going to be butchering up the names. I am so sorry, but please bear with me. So the first is John Calabrese. The second is Beth Cole. We heard from her earlier in her feedback. So Beth not only sent me an email, she sent a contribution. So thank you, Beth. That's Beth Cole. And also Serena Stratford from Australia. It's just amazing, the worldwide support that the Artful Painter has. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your contribution. It does make a huge difference in the show. It helps pay for the hosting, the website, and some of the media costs that go along with this show. So that brings the total number of contributors to 22 for the year 2020. And let me acknowledge each one individually. Cynthia Agathocleus, Kelly Bailey, Alan Bloom, John Calabrese, Beth Cole, Sandra Shook, Jeffrey Eichhoff, Scott Helgeson, Richard Husband, Brent Kimber, Deborah Martin, David McNeil, Jonathan McPhillips, Jim McVicker, Margaret Miller, Debbie Mueller, Sherry Petty, Jill Rifato, Serena Stratford, Frank Wash, Shirley Williams, and Colleen White. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This brings us to the end of this edition of The Artful Painter. I know it's been a long one. It was well over 2 hours long again. If you're driving, you can listen to the audio version. If you go on one of those 10-hour, 12-hour trips, 2 hours is just a small portion of it, right? If you're watching the video version of this podcast and you're driving, stop that. Don't do that. Please. Get someone else to drive and you can watch it on your iDevice. Okay? Anyway, so I thank you for listening. I'll see you all in the next edition of The Artful Painter.
Picture on the TV.